This is a demonstration of travel requests implemented on the K2 platform using K2 Smart Forms, workflow and reports. What we're having a look at here is an example where I've logged in as Igor Jurisic on this browser, and I'm going to go and submit a travel request. So going into my travel request app, we're loading up a K2 Smart Form. This form has actually got some slight different branding just to make it a little bit more exciting for people that are going to go and travel. And it gives you a few features are available on this particular form. The one is loading up a saved draft, so I could fill this form in, save it, come back again a few days later, continue working on it, or even save multiple drafts as well. So for example, I might have a few travels coming up, and I want to start to sort of coordinate and put all the details in before submitting them off for approval. What I can also do is request travel on behalf of somebody else. That gives me the option to be able to change the details of who's requesting travel. Otherwise, it's automatically populating the form with my details because that's who has been logged in. I want to fill in a reason for travel, so this is going to be some consulting work that I need to go and do at a client. So I'm just filling those sort of details in. I can then go and choose a cost center, so just choosing an example, maybe human resources, or let's say sales is a cost center I'm doing over here. And these lists of cost centers are actually coming in from a back-end system which is using an Office 365 SharePoint list that the business can maintain, and then it'll populate these cost centers. You can even do things where, provided the person's got the correct rights, they can actually click on a little plus button and add a new cost center, and it'll actually add it to the back-end system directly. I'm going to go and search now my CRM system. So I have a list of customers in my back-end CRM system. In this case, it's using Dynamics, and I'm looking for sample customers. So over here, I've done a search against my back-end CRM system. It's listed a bunch of sample customers, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use Fourth Coffee as a customer that I'm going to go and see. So selecting Fourth Coffee, a little icons appear over here that allows me to go and have a look at more details about that customer. So if I open that up, I can now see that Fourth Coffee are indeed in Brisbane, and I can see certain details about them. I can also go and click on the contacts, and that's brought back the contacts of people that are at that particular customer. So I don't have to go and ask anybody about that. I'm going to go on the travel. I've chosen the customer out of the backend system, and I've already got customer data that I can start to understand or have a look at when I'm booking my travel. So for example, needing to know which of the clients I'm going to go and see, as well as what city they're in, so I know exactly where I need to fly to and not make a mistake. So I've chosen Fourth Coffee over here. And now for demonstration purposes, what's happened is it's automatically filled in who my approving manager is, who my executive approver is, that is whoever Rudy's manager is, and my travel officer. So at the moment in my backend system, I'm Rudy's manager and he's mine. That's why it's loaded up like that. And the travel officer is automatically set to me. So I can go ahead and make changes to this. So for example, my approving manager, I'm going to make that Tony. And as I do that, you can see it's modifying, making those changes. If I were to go and say it's Henny, you can see over here, I can now just choose the right person, Henny Lobshan. You can see it's busy loading that information up there. So for this example, my approving manager is going to be Rudy. I'm also going to make Rudy my executive approver. So depending on the type of travel that I take, it's going to either go to my approving manager or to my executive approver, or to both. So if there's a very high cost involved, we can make it so it can escalate, needing both people to approve. And then for my travel officer, for this example, I'm going to make that Tony for this demo. So Tony is going to be my travel officer. Now what we're going to go and have a look at is the fact that I can go now and choose what sort of items do I want to add to my travel. Alright, so one of the things I want to do is add flights. Now instead of having a form with flights and accommodation and car hire and all these sort of things on a screen, and the screen sort of becoming a little bit maybe overwhelming to look at, what we've done here is rather enabled that when you click on an item, then it only brings up the sections that you need to fill in. So thereby keeping the form a little bit simple, and then as you work on it and you check box items, more and more of the fields of the form starts to grow and appear, trying to keep it simple rather than looking too complex from the beginning. So what we're going to do now is go and add some flights. Now when I go into the flights over here, I'm going to say, well, we're going to fly from Sydney and we need to go to Brisbane. That's where the customer is. I'm going to choose a departure date tomorrow. I can go and specify a time that I need to depart, and I could leave it at that. So I could save that, and I'll let the travel office work out which flights and what times and all that sort of stuff with that information. And quite often when I book travel, I just do that, and I don't worry about it. But a lot of the guys that I work with, they like to choose their specific flights and really suggest that to the travel office. And they normally do that in a separate email, or it sort of gets lost to them. So what we decided to do in this example is allow them to actually suggest a flight. So when I click on the suggest a flight, what that's actually doing is it's bringing back live flight data out from the internet of departures from Sydney to Brisbane leaving tomorrow. And it's brought back that list. So I can go along here and I can see all those flights from Sydney to Brisbane, the times that they leave, the times that they arrive, and what carrier it is. So for example, I'm going to book this Virgin Australia flight. So I'm choosing that one. And what that's done is it's added it to this little suggested flight details over here with a total cost. Now, what I also want to do is be able to specify a return flight. So instead of just saving this and adding a new flight as a return flight and filling out all those details again, what I've done here is just add a little return trip checkbox. You specify the date you want to come back. And well, I already know that you're flying from Sydney to Brisbane and that you're going to need to get from Brisbane back to Sydney. You don't have to go and fill out all those details again. You can just go and specify your sort of leaving time and hit the suggested flights option again. Now what that is doing is it's doing the reverse. So it's going to look for flights from Brisbane back to Sydney. And again, I see all the information over here, and I'm going to go and choose that Virgin flight there as well. So again, that's given my return flight suggested information. And what you'll see, there's a cost for each of the outbound and inbound flights, and it's given me a total cost at the bottom here. Now when I hit save, it's gone and it's broken that up automatically into those two separate flights for me, so that if I need to go and make those changes, I can go in to either the return flight or the outbound flight and make those changes. What I'm also going to do is add some accommodation. So I need some accommodation from that date and returning on the Friday. The hotel, let's call it Hotel Brisbane, if there is such a thing. Number of guests 1, non-smoking, and the estimate of that is going to be $1,200. So I'm going to save that as well, and that's added that to my accommodation there as well. Now what you'll notice is I've got a cost for my flights, a cost for my accommodation, and at the top here a total cost for everything. So a nice summary view at the top there. So let's go ahead and submit this and see what actually takes place. So submitting that flight. There we go. So my travel has been submitted. I click on OK. And what I can now do is if I go down to my process summary at the bottom here, what I can see there is that I've got a travel request that is started, and it's actually at the executive approval at the moment as well. I'm also going to bring my phone onto the screen here as well. And what you can see there is I've also just received a notification that a travel request was also submitted. So I've got that on my phone. And what I've also got is a email that's been returned back to me. So let's go and have a look at that as well. So I'm just going to log into my phone, and there, that email just arrived now. So there's a little confirmation email to me letting me know that the travel request that I've just done, so this is a little confirmation of the travel request. It's telling me some details about it, and it's also attached a little PDF of the travel request that I completed. So if I just zoom in there a little bit there, we can see the details of the travel request as I submitted that with the flight information. So that is now for my own record. So I can keep a copy of that, maybe store that in a record management system, and have that as a record of my travel that I've submitted off. Alright, so I don't only need that, I can also have a look at a status view of it over here. So I can see my travel request has started. If I click into that, I'm bringing up a little report, and I can see, yes, when it started. I can currently see the user interaction at the moment, and I can see there's currently an executive approval that Rudy is assigned to do, and he hasn't done anything on that yet. I can also have a look at a view flow, and this is an optional thing you can expose to your users that shows me the workflow process. So I can see that travel request has gone off, it's gone through approval, it's worked out that it's the executive approver that needs to approve that, and it's now waiting for Rudy to complete that. Rudy could actually go and query it back to me, and then I could resubmit it, or if he approves it, it can go down to the travel office. So let's go and do a quick roundabout. So let's say, let's log in as Rudy and let Rudy have a look at a few details there. So here I've logged in as Rudy. You can see Rudy at the top there, and on his task list he's got that executive approval that he needs to complete. Now he can see this task in a number of different places. He could see that could be logging into SharePoint as an example. Inside of SharePoint he'll see his task and you can actually deal with it inside there. You could also log onto his mobile phone and he'll see his task list on his phone and he can interact with it from his mobile, or you can even see it from his email and you'll see that he has received an email notification. What Rudy can also do is from his task list, he could approve or decline the specific one from the actual task list, or he can click into it and have a look at the form itself. So what Rudy's doing is he's having a look at the form. That's showing him a little instruction about what he needs to do, a little review history. So as things move through the process, we can build up a little comments log. Now he's looking at the form, and the form is now read-only, so he can't make any changes. It's just for him to be able to review it. He can see the outbound and inbound flights, the total costs, and let's, for example, he goes and has a look at that hotel booking, for example. Sees it's 1,200. He can go and view it again. It's all read-only, and maybe he's not quite happy about that. So what he could also do from this particular view is have a look at some of the travel reports. So he's going to go and open up a specific travel report, and what this is doing is this is showing a report of a number of different reports put together here. The one is by cost center. So how much are we spending on travel by cost center? So the one that we kicked off now was this one over here for the sales one, and I can see we spent $34,000 so far on that cost center on travel. What I'm also showing here is a report about people within a specific area and how many flights are we doing to specific locations. So we can see Sydney as a destination is our top one, and then Brisbane is coming along second there, and I can see that the red is Igor, and most of those flights have been by Igor. There's probably just one there of Dion, there's 7 that are by me, and there's another one there by Tony that make up all the Brisbane flights so far. What we've also got here is a little bit of a trend report, and that's showing over the months. I can see how the different destinations are looking against each other, and I can see Sydney really picked up a bit. It's dropped off a little bit, and I can see how the others are looking. So that's just an example of some of the reports that you can pull out. Then that's a business data reports that can help me make a decision when approving this travel. We've also got another little tab here called previous requests, and what that is showing is all the previous requests that Igor has done. So I can go along here and see all the previous ones. So I can see there was another sales in Brisbane that he went to go and do. If I click on that particular one, I'm now loading up. I can see the accommodation last time he went there to Hotel Brisbane. It only cost him $200. This time around it's $1,200. What's going on there? Was it for the same amount of duration of time? Or it just gives me that knowledge and that information that I can go and have a look at inside of here. So what I'm going to do in this particular example is I'm just going to go down to the bottom and add a comment here and say double check the accommodation looks high. Whoops. So I'm just going to go and decline that so far and go ahead and submit that off. Alright. So what we can see now is the query travel has taken place, and now if I log back in as Igor, you can see I've got the query travel sitting over here. What you'll also see is on my phone I've received an email message. So let's go and have a look at that email. So that's just an example of an email message that's come to me letting me know that my travel's been queried, some details about it, and what I can actually do is from my mobile devices I could actually reply to this email with the words cancel or resubmit, and that'll actually influence which way in the process it goes and automatically complete that workflow item. I could also redirect, delegate, or sleep this from my mobile device as well, and we've also included again that PDF inside of the email. So if I'm, let's say, sitting on an aeroplane, I could have a look at the details here, reply to my email, and then when I get off the aeroplane, it's automatically going to sync. So that can also take place. Okay, so let's complete that on the screen here. So I open up my query travel. So from within inside here, I can see that my travel was queried. I can see the fact that it was declined and the message that came back from Rudy over here. I can go through it, and now what you'll notice is that it's all readable again. So I can now go ahead. I can still go and edit the details inside here. I can go back to my accommodation, open that up once again. I realize I put in 1,200. That should maybe have only been 1,100. Make that modification, and I can put my comment back and say updated the cost it was a little off. Alright, so I'm going to resubmit that again and continue my workflow process. So as that's going, I've resubmitted this. If I go back and look at my tracking over here, what we can see is that I can see exactly what's happened. The first executive approval complete was declined, went back to query travel, which was Igor that did that, and then I resubmitted it. Now it's gone back to executive approval for Rudy to complete once again. Looking inside of my view flow of my workflow, I can see the little loop that's taken, and we're back at executive approval once again. So let's move that a little bit quicker this time around. So let's go back in as Rudy once more, open up my specific task. And over here I can see the comment back from Igor saying that he did update them. And now Rudy can go ahead, once again review everything and say it's all fine now. All fine, and he's going to approve that travel. So I'm going to submit that off, and that completes Rudy's piece of the puzzle here. His task list is now clear. No more additional tasks to complete. So let's go in as the person from the travel office. So this is Tony. So Tony's the travel officer. He's logged in, and you can see he's got a task to complete some travel. Let's go ahead and open up that task. Again, he can see the history of everything that's taken place so far, but this time around the travel officer needs to do a couple more things. So one of the things that he needs to do is first of all go to these flights and add confirmation number and confirmation details. So the only thing that is available to them is to actually just edit that specific item. So let's edit it. That's opened up a summary view of our suggested flight. Now what they can do is go and put in the confirmation number, add an attachment. So for example, I might have a flight details over here as an attachment, and giving some confirmation details, FLX, whatever the sort of confirmation details of the flight I might need to add inside there. I can also go and do my return trip from here as well. So let's go and add some other details for that return flight. Let's attach another flight. So I'm just going to make a copy of this. Flight details return. Some other confirmation details, and save that. So I've added attachments into that. Doing the single flight, it's updated both of those for me, so it's easier to read, including those those documents that I've attached. So I'm going to say all done now as well, and completed. Submit that off. Now if I bring back my mobile phone onto the picture here, what you'll see is that I've just received a text message. So that's a text message that's now gone to Igor, letting him know about the fact that everything's been booked up and the travel request has been completed. If I also go into my email and give my email a second to refresh, there we go. So if I open that up, there's a little notification to me letting me know that the travel office has done all their work. Everything's been booked up for me. There is the flight details, the return flight details. So those are the two attachments that the travel office attached to the form, as well as the PDF summary of the flight. So if I open that summary up, this is just a little PDF that I created that is showing me just the status of the flight that's about to take place, plus the details of the flight with the confirmation details sitting inside there as well. So I can use that as my little summary, and then I've also got the actual attachments sitting inside there as well to be able to go and use when I get on my airplane. Right. So what we've had a look at here is an example of a travel system implemented on the KD platform. It's taken advantage of some integration into some backend systems like Office 365 to get a list of cost centers, into a dynamic CRM system to find out the details about the travel office, about the destination that we're going to go to, the customer. And inside of that, I could see exactly what city they're in and maybe the list of the contacts that I might need to be in contact with when I get there. I was able to fill in the form. While I filled in the form, we integrated with some flight service to be able to bring in live flight details, so I can go and suggest the flights and get a more accurate cost estimate as well. It then went through to approval, where we had the executive manager opening up a form and being able to see a number of different reports to help them make a better decision about that approval, and about also understanding the current trend of what's currently going on. How are we? How is our cost doing against our budgets or against different cost centers, or what's the trend looking like? Does the business look like it's doing a lot more travel requests to a specific destination? Information that can help you be aware and understand where the money is going and what's being spent on. So thank you very much for spending the time to watch this demonstration.